Dad, the board voted. You're moving to senior technical advisor. It's time for new leadership. My own daughter said that to me, in my office, sitting behind my desk, and she smiled when she said it. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. But I made sure that when the truth finally came out, it came out in a boardroom, not a parking lot. My name is Gary Callahan, 57 years old, 30 years in oil refinery operations. And this is exactly what happened. I joined Crestline Energy in 1994. The place was a mess. The previous operations manager had just walked out after a federal safety inspection flagged 11 violations. Equipment was outdated. Protocols were barely written down, let alone followed. The founding director, Roy Harmon, hired me because no one else wanted the job. I didn't mind. I'd always worked better when the situation was bad enough that nobody was watching over my shoulder telling me how to fix it. I spent the next 30 years fixing it. Every compliance certification, every efficiency upgrade, every vendor relationship, I built that from scratch, not with a team of consultants. With early mornings, late evenings, and the kind of institutional knowledge you can only get from actually showing up on the floor every day for 3 decades. By the time Roy announced his retirement, the operations division I ran was the most efficient it had ever been. We'd gone 6 consecutive years without a reportable safety incident. Our maintenance costs were 18% below industry average. I wasn't arrogant about it. I just knew the numbers, because I'd lived them. So when the board started talking about new leadership, I assumed I understood what that meant. Bring in someone to handle the business development side, maybe modernize some of the administrative functions. I figured I'd work alongside whoever they brought in, the same way I'd worked alongside Roy. What I didn't figure on was Lauren, my daughter, was 31 years old. She had an MBA and 4 years at a consulting firm that specialized in energy sector restructuring. She was smart, genuinely smart, and she'd grown up watching me work, so she understood the industry better than most people her age. The board liked her name. They liked the narrative. Founder's right-hand man's daughter steps into leadership role, carrying the legacy forward. It made good press. It made a clean story. She called me the morning after the vote. Her voice was warm, almost careful. "Dad, I want you to know I'm going to need your experience. We're going to do this together." I told her I was proud of her. I meant it. That lasted about 6 weeks. The first sign was a vendor contract review I wasn't invited to. Routine stuff, we ran those quarterly, but the numbers I heard secondhand afterward didn't match anything I'd seen or approved. I asked Lauren about it directly. She said the operations team had it handled. I was the operations team. Then came Neil Graves. Lauren brought him in as CFO about 3 weeks into her tenure. Smooth resume, firm handshake, good in a meeting. I sat across from him during a maintenance planning session and watched him nod along to a proposal that would have put us in violation of 3 federal regulations. He had no idea. I flagged it after the meeting. Lauren thanked me and said they'd circle back. They didn't circle back. The Tuesday it all became official. Lauren's assistant scheduled what she called a transition planning session. Just the 2 of us, her office, Roy's old office, which had been completely redecorated. New furniture, different paint, her name on the door. She slid a single piece of paper across the desk without any preamble. It was a new org chart. My name was near the top in a box labeled Senior Technical Advisor, Special Projects, no direct reports, no operational authority, no budget line. I picked it up and looked at it for a moment. What does this mean for my current responsibilities? I asked. We're building a stronger team around those functions, she said. You'll be a resource. Your institutional knowledge is invaluable. Invaluable. That's a word people use when they want to compliment you while they're removing you. I asked 2 more questions: who owned the compliance calendar going forward, and who was managing the pipeline maintenance vendor relationship. She gave me answers that didn't actually answer either question. I nodded, thanked her for the conversation, and walked out. I drove home and sat in my truck in the driveway for a while. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't even particularly angry. I was doing what I'd always done when something broke down at the refinery. I was trying to understand exactly what I was dealing with before I decided what to do about it. And what I kept coming back to wasn't the demotion. It was the contracts, the numbers that didn't add up. The meeting I wasn't invited to. The maintenance proposal that Neil had nearly approved without catching the regulatory issue. This wasn't just a daughter pushing her father aside to put her own stamp on something. There was something else underneath it. I went inside and started making calls. The first call was to Nancy Pierce. Nancy was a corporate attorney I'd worked with years back during a federal compliance filing. She wasn't flashy, didn't oversell herself, and she remembered details. Those were the three things I needed. I explained the situation without editorializing. Lauren had been appointed CEO. I'd been moved to a nominal advisory role without my agreement. There were financial irregularities I'd noticed in vendor contracts. I wanted to understand my options before I did anything else. Nancy listened without interrupting. When I finished, she asked two questions: whether I had documented access to the contracts in question, and whether I had retained any copies of communications related to my role change. I told her I had both. "Good," she said. "Come in tomorrow morning. Don't discuss this with anyone at the company until we've talked." I hired her the next day. 4,000 retainer. The second call was to Earl Doyle. Earl was an independent auditor I'd brought in during a federal review about 8 years earlier. The man had found a $47,000 discrepancy in a contractor invoice that 3 internal accountants had missed. He wasn't cheap and he wasn't fast, but he was thorough in a way that held up under scrutiny. I told him I needed a quiet preliminary review of some vendor contracts and the financial documentation around them. I told him I had legitimate access to everything I'd be sending him. He said he'd take a look and get back to me within a week. For the next 3 weeks, I showed up to work every day. I attended the meetings I was invited to. I gave input when someone asked for it. I kept my mouth completely shut about everything else, but I was also pulling documents. Everything I had legitimate access to: operations logs, vendor contracts, safety inspection reports. Internal emails I'd been CC'd on over the past 8 months. I organized them the same way I'd organized operational reports for 30 years: dated, sourced, filed. Earl came back to me on a Thursday evening. He didn't bury the lead. "Gary," he said, "you've got a real problem here. And I don't mean for you personally." He walked me through what he'd found. 3 maintenance contracts had been awarded to outside vendors at rates running 40 to 60% above current market rates. All 3 vendors had been brought in after Lauren and Neil arrived. The total overbilling across those contracts over 8 months came to approximately $380,000. That was enough to get my attention. What came next was worse. One of the vendors, a pipeline inspection firm called Ridgeway Technical Services, had a registered agent address that matched a residential property in Tulsa. Earl had pulled the property records. The property was purchased 14 months earlier by a Neil Graves of Oklahoma City. I sat with that for a moment. Neil had set this up before he was even hired, which meant Lauren had known about Ridgeway before she brought him in, or she'd found out afterward and said nothing. Either way, the money flowing from Crestline to Ridgeway Technical Services was going, at least in part, back to her CFO. I called Nancy that same night. She told me to hold the documents exactly where they were and not to share them with anyone else yet. She wanted to bring in a second set of eyes on the audit findings before we moved. I told her there was one more thing: the February safety inspection report. I had a copy of the original. I'd been in the meeting when it was drafted, and I'd kept my working copy the way I always did. The original showed 4 deficiencies. The version that had been filed with the board showed 2. Someone had cleaned the document before submission. Nancy was quiet for a second. Then she said, "Don't touch anything. I'll call you in the morning." Around that same time, I'd asked Scott to pay attention. My son had been working in the operations division under me for 3 years. He was 28, knew the floor well, and he wasn't the kind of person who caused drama. I didn't tell him what I was looking for. I just told him to keep his eyes open and let me know if anything felt off. He called me on a Thursday night about 5 weeks into all of this. His voice was level but careful. "Dad, I need to tell you something I heard. There's talk, and I mean actual conversation, not rumor, that Lauren and Neil are in early discussions with an outside firm about selling the operations division. Not a merger, a straight sale. And the structure being discussed would leave the ops employees without severance protection." I asked if he had anything in writing. "Not yet," he said. "But I know who might." What Scott found over the following week wasn't complicated. It was just buried. An email chain, originally sent between Lauren's company account and Neil's, had been forwarded to a personal Gmail address. The chain outlined the proposed sale terms: the buyer, a firm with no prior history in refinery operations, and a compensation structure that would generate a significant private payout for the CEO and CFO upon close. Scott forwarded it to me without comment. I read it twice. Then I forwarded it to Nancy Pierce. She called me the next morning at 7 a.m. Gary, this has moved beyond wrongful demotion. What you have here is a fiduciary violation, potentially multiple violations. The board needs to see this, and they need to see it from you directly. I told her I understood. I also told her I wanted to present it myself, in person. At the next scheduled board meeting, Nancy was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I'll contact Judith Crane. She's independent counsel for the board. I'll ask for time on the agenda." I told her to ask for 25 minutes. I wanted enough time to do it right. Then I hung up and started putting the presentation together. I spent the weekend at my kitchen table. Coffee, a legal pad, and every document I'd collected over the past 6 weeks printed and sorted into folders. I've written hundreds of operational reports in my career. Incident reviews, compliance submissions, budget justifications. The format was always the same: state the facts, show the evidence, let the numbers speak. No editorializing, no emotion, just a clear line from data to conclusion. This was no different. I told myself that the entire time. By Sunday evening, I had 47 pages. Vendor contracts with market rate comparisons side by side. Earl's full audit summary, signed and dated. The property records linking Neil Graves to Ridgeway Technical Services. The original February inspection report next to the version filed with the board. Discrepancies highlighted. The email chain outlining the proposed sale. Nancy's legal summary of the fiduciary obligations that had been breached. Everything sourced, everything dated, everything in order. I read through it once more before I went to bed. Then I closed the folders and left them on the table. The board meeting was the second Tuesday of the month. Judith Crane had confirmed my 25 minutes on the agenda and told me only that the slot was listed as an operational update from senior staff. She hadn't told Lauren. I arrived 20 minutes early and sat in the parking lot. Not because I was nervous. I just didn't want to be standing in the hallway when Lauren walked in. I went inside at 8 minutes before the hour and took a seat at the far end of the conference table. Dale Prescott, the board chair, nodded at me when he came in. A few of the other board members I recognized from quarterly reviews over the years. Professional nods, nothing more. Lauren walked in at 2 minutes before the hour. Neil was behind her. She saw me at the table and her expression went through several things very quickly before settling into something controlled and still. She sat down without saying anything. Neil sat beside her and opened his laptop. I kept my eyes on the folder in front of me. The meeting ran through routine items for about 40 minutes. Financial summary operations update from Neil, which contained at least 2 figures I knew were inconsistent with the actual floor data, and a brief market outlook from Lauren. She was composed and articulate. She always had been. Then Dale Prescott looked down at the agenda and said, "We have a presentation from Gary Callahan, Senior Technical Advisor." I stood up and set a copy of the packet in front of each board member. 47 pages, tabbed and indexed. I put a copy in front of Lauren as well. I did not put one in front of Neil. I said, I want to start by acknowledging the obvious. Lauren Callahan is my daughter. That conflict exists, and I'm not pretending otherwise. It is precisely why I retained outside legal counsel and an independent auditor before bringing any of this forward. Everything in front of you has been reviewed by Nancy Pierce, corporate attorney, and Earl Doyle, independent certified auditor. Their contact information is on the cover page if you want to verify anything directly. Then I walked them through it. I didn't rush. I didn't raise my voice. I moved from tab to tab the same way I'd run 1,000 operational briefings, methodically letting each document land before moving to the next one. The vendor contracts first. 3 contracts, 40 to 60% above market rate, all awarded in the 90 days after Lauren and Neil took their positions. Total overbilling over 8 months, $380,000. Then the Ridgeway connection. I put the vendor registration document on one side and the Tulsa property record on the other and gave the board a moment to read both. Neil's name was on both documents. No one said anything. Then the inspection report. I held up both versions, the original I had retained and the version submitted to the board, and read the discrepancy out loud. 4 deficiencies versus 2. I explained that the original had been produced in a meeting I attended, that I had retained my working copy as I had done with every significant document for 30 years, and that the submitted version had been altered before filing. Then the email chain, the proposed sale of the operations division, the compensation structure, the buyer with no refinery experience, the payout terms for the CEO and CFO. I closed the last tab and looked at the board. That's everything, I said. I've been at this company for 30 years. I'm not here because I'm angry about being moved to an advisory role. I'm here because what's in those folders represents a serious breach of fiduciary duty, and I believed the board had a right to see it. I sat down. The room was very quiet. Dale Prescott looked at Neil Graves and asked, in a tone that had gone completely flat, whether he had any response to the Ridgway documentation. Neil glanced at Lauren. She was looking at the table in front of her. He looked back at Dale and said he'd like to speak with his attorney before responding to anything. Dale nodded once. Then he looked around the table and said, I'm going to recommend we suspend this meeting and convene with outside counsel within 48 hours. Any objection? Nobody objected. Lauren stood up when the room started to clear. For a second, I thought she was going to say something to me. She looked at me across the table just for a moment, and then she picked up her copy of the packet and walked out without a word. Neil was right behind her. I gathered my folders, shook hands with Dale Prescott, and walked out to my truck. I sat there for a few minutes. The parking lot was quiet. It was a gray Tuesday morning in October, and the trees at the edge of the lot had started to turn. I started the engine and drove home. The independent investigation took 11 weeks. Neil Graves resigned 4 days after the board meeting, before the outside auditors had even formally started their work. His attorney negotiated a quiet exit. No public statement, no severance. He was just gone. Lauren stayed on administrative leave through most of the investigation. I heard updates through Nancy Pierce, not through Lauren directly. The auditors confirmed everything Earl had found, and a few things he hadn't, 2 additional vendor relationships with looser but traceable conflicts of interest, and a pattern of expense reimbursements that didn't hold up under scrutiny. The altered inspection report was traced to a laptop registered to Lauren's company account. Her attorney contacted Nancy in week 9. Lauren would resign before the board formally requested it. She would cooperate fully with the external audit. In exchange, the board agreed not to pursue personal liability beyond the financial settlement, which covered the $380,000 in overbilled contracts plus investigative costs. I found out on a Wednesday afternoon. Nancy called me at home. I thanked her, hung up, and stood in my kitchen for a while. The board called me the following week and offered me my old position back. Full operational authority, same compensation, same reporting structure as before Lauren arrived. Dale Prescott made the offer himself. He said the company owed me that much, and he meant it genuinely. I told him I appreciated it. I told him I'd think about it over the weekend. I already knew the answer. I just wanted a few days before I said it out loud. On Monday, I called Dale back and declined. I told him I was 57 years old and I'd put in 30 years, and that I thought the right move was to help them transition a new operations lead and then step back. I offered 90 days of consulting to get whoever they brought in properly oriented. Dale accepted without pushing back. I spent those 90 days doing what I'd always done, showing up, doing the work, making sure the person coming in behind me had what they needed to succeed. The new operations director was a woman named Beverly Shaw, 44 years old, 18 years in downstream operations at 2 different companies. She asked good questions and didn't pretend to know things she didn't know. She was going to be fine. My last day at Crestline was a Friday in late January. A handful of people from the floor walked me to my truck. No speeches, no cake. That was exactly how I wanted it. Lauren called me that evening. I almost didn't answer. Then I picked up. She didn't cry and she didn't apologize, at least not right away. What she said first was, I didn't think you'd actually do it. I asked her what she meant. She said, I thought you'd accept the advisor role. I thought you'd step back and let it go. I thought you'd decide that keeping the peace with me was worth more than fighting it. I told her I would have stepped back if it had been real. If she genuinely wanted my input and just needed to run her own operation, I would have figured out how to be useful from the side. That wasn't the hard part. She was quiet for a moment. I asked her one question. Did she know about the Ridgway connection before she hired Neil, or did she find out later and decide not to deal with it? She didn't answer right away. Then she said, Does it matter now? I told her it mattered to me. Not for legal reasons, just personally. Another long pause. Then she said, I found out about 6 weeks in. I told myself it wasn't as bad as it looked, that Neil would fix it, that I could manage it. I didn't say anything. She said, I know that's not an excuse. I told her it wasn't. But I also told her that she was 31 years old, and she'd made serious mistakes, and now she knew what those mistakes actually cost. That was something Whether she did anything with it was up to her. We talked for another 10 minutes. Nothing resolved, nothing fixed. But it was a real conversation. Maybe the first one we'd had in months. When we hung up, I didn't feel better exactly, but I felt like the door was still there if she ever wanted to walk back through it. That was enough for now. Scott drove up to the cabin the first weekend of February. He brought Donna and 2 fishing rods and enough food for 3 days. The lake was still partly frozen at the edges, but the dock was clear and the afternoon was cold and bright. We fished for a few hours without catching much and didn't particularly care. Scott told me about a foreman position that had opened up at his plant, a step up. More responsibility. He was thinking about applying. I told him he should. Donna talked about a logistics project she was managing and the problem she was trying to work through, and I listened and asked a few questions and watched her think it out. She was sharp. She was good for him. That evening we grilled inside because the wind had picked up off the lake. After dinner, Scott and Donna sat across from me at the kitchen table, and Scott said, "Dad, I want you to know something." I waited. He said, "Watching how you handled all of this, the whole thing from the demotion to the board meeting to the way you talked about Lauren after, I learned more from that than from anything else you've ever shown me about how to be a man." I didn't have a ready answer for that. I looked at my coffee cup for a second. Then I said, "You did your part. You found what I needed, and you brought it to me without making it dramatic. That mattered." He nodded. We left it there. After they went to bed, I sat on the dock with a blanket and a thermos. The lake was dark and quiet. A few stars were out through the clouds. The cold didn't bother me. I thought about 30 years of showing up, of eating lunch at my desk while the work piled up, of building something that outlasted any single person's ability to damage it, including mine, including Lauren's. I thought about the drive north after my last day, the roads getting narrower and quieter, the bait shop outside Duluth, the woman who smiled when I said living instead of visiting. I wasn't angry. I wasn't relieved exactly. I was just done in the way that something is done when it ends the right way, not cut short, not dragged out, but finished. I stayed on that dock until the cold finally got through the blanket. Then I went inside, rinsed my cup, and called it a night. Some things you build to last. Some things you hold on to just long enough to hand them off properly, knowing the difference. That's the whole job. I figured it out a little late, but I figured it out. The most dangerous thing you can do to a man who spent 30 years building something is assume he's too tired to defend it. Standing your ground isn't stubbornness. It's the last lesson you'll ever teach the people watching you.